We now move on to the senior amateur divisions. This one to be contested at lightweights with the upper limit of 61 kilograms. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the blue corner and representing Top Primate Gym. He comes to us with a record of 0 wins and 3 losses. Please welcome Likhaya Hansie.
I'm at the house so playing, but truly it's there with the devil got back on the road. So ready for that crack on the floor with a red when I'm popping or tricking that show. I'm about to get on my back, hold up, yeah, I gotta go with the flow. Niggas be taking it home, second by cold. I gotta forward a cold, I gotta racket these hoes, for what you told. Yeah, when I'm taking it back when I look to these crackers, I'm packing this how this shit go. Yeah, I wanna fight, I wanna show, I wanna creep, I wanna fight, I wanna yeah, I wanna creep, I wanna fight.
And introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner and representing Thaiholics, Cape Town. He comes to us with a record of 0 wins and 1 loss. Please welcome Delport.
It starts with
I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, every time is fine to a slain in due time. All I know, time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away, it's so unreal. You didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on, you didn't even know. I wasted it all just to watch it see you go. I kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard.
And when the action begins, your referee in charge is Luron Wedding. We have 2 Cape Town-based fighters here now. Likhaya Hansie fighting out of Top Primate and Delport fighting out of Thaiholics, Cape Town in the red. Interesting, yeah. Both guys still searching for that first win. So similarly to what we were saying about Jaden in the last fight, you know, technically nothing to lose, everything to win. But for both of them, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one this evening. Look, both fighters look very calm. I think Likhaya looked very confident coming out, and I think he's quite pumped up for this fight this afternoon.
Yeah, and even having a look at, you know, how they were presenting themselves at the weigh-in yesterday, both guys look pretty calm but confident, you know, which is always good to see. Might be a storm raging underneath, but they seem confident to the rest of us.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, the body armor is off, the head is off for this fight, correct?
Yeah, so we're into the senior amateur divisions now, and obviously only the juniors are wearing that body armor. It used to be a rule that at all amateur, depending on what level of fighting you or how many fights you had, you were wearing armor. But now all senior fights, no more body armor, no more headgear. We still have the shin guards and the elbow pads, just to offer a little bit more protection, hopefully to reduce the risk of cuts. But I mean, it still happens.
Yeah, I mean, the shin pads that you fight with pretty much just takes away that bone-to-bone that you feel when fighting without it. But I don't remember the shin pads really doing that much for me in the early days.
Yeah, I think it's also, a lot of it is a psychological thing, just knowing that you are protected a little bit more, whether that be being struck by someone's kick with a pad on elbow, and also just protecting your own legs, maybe a little bit worried about literally taking contact to that bone. But yeah, I mean, one of the biggest fears I had when I turned pro was what is going to happen to my shins now that I lost these these shin pads. The first kick, I remember I sort of did like a half skip into the air as I checked, and it hit, and I carried on fighting, and I watched the video and I was like, oh, I don't remember taking a kick there. It's like, you sort of know that you took it, but you don't really feel anything.
I think when I got checked or generally my kicking felt okay, but I remember my first time without the shin pads and landing sort of the ankle on my opponent's shin, and I was like, okay, this is interesting,
Both guys coming at you with high intensity. I think both of them need to make sure that they keep their guards nice and tight, because they both seem to be swinging with vicious ferocity here. Oh, Andre looks for a sneaky elbow. I don't even think Likhaya saw the one coming at his head ducked. It's interesting to see both of them engaging in the clinch and then looking for strikes on the break.
Yeah, you can see that. Andre is trying to sort of control this floody, this sort of.
Literally trying to weather the storm. That's fight logic 101. If your opponent comes out swinging hard, you either got to return in kind, or you just got to be able to weather the storm. Those sort of flows hopefully don't last forever.
Yeah,
hopefully he
100%.
doesn't have the type of gas tank that just keeps going like that. And you can already see the guys have both calmed down a bit now. Even though they're still throwing with intent, it's not as wild. Andre landing a nice body kick there. That's a good way to control the distance, especially with a puncher like Likhaya. Look for those kicks, hit the body, slips in a nice elbow. At his corners, got their hands in the air there.
I mean, I liked how Likhaya actually attacked the body with some of his shots as well, but like you mentioned, the hand needs to stay up. But I do think Andre is doing very well in the clinch. He's controlling the arms and he's looking for that elbow when he can.
Yeah, and even with those elbow pads, the impact from an elbow and the type of swinging that these guys are doing, they're doing full tilt cricket bowls and using the elbow as that striking weapon. Ooh, I think he got him a little bit rocked there. There's a little bit of blood coming out of Andre's ear, I think, as well. As you said, just keep that hand up and maybe,
nice
especially
elbow.
in the clincher, maybe close the distance. Often you're trying to make space and break it, but especially eating a bit of shots to the body there. Big uppercut there comes from Likhaya.
Yeah, 100%. First instinct, in that engagement sometimes in the clinch is to think, okay, well, I need to push away, but often the time it's better to get the hips close together, lock it up, and let the referee separate it.
Yeah, so sort of bring your hips under, control your footwork as well, make sure you have a nice steady base, because what's happening at the moment is that both of them obviously breaking distance, and it's about whichever one's quicker to get in. And if you're not that guy, it would be easier. You can defend something with just putting your hips forward.
100%.
Sometimes. I think one of the big things that I noticed there with Andre is that he's trying to use a sort of long guard defense when Likhaya comes up to the punches. So he's sticking out his left hand, but he's not lifting that shoulder to protect the face. So Likhaya is actually sort of looping his head under the long guard that he's throwing, and he's still managing to catch him because his arm is going straight down towards Likhaya's head. Maybe needs to lift that up a little bit and try and sort of aim it towards the forehead, just so his shoulder gives him some protection, even a little glance of protection there. Doesn't eat that on the chin.
Yeah, a little half a shoulder cover allows him to get out of the way of the looping strike, and also just by lifting up the shoulders will almost give him a little bit more range to push Likhaya off when he's coming in with those floodies, because of course he's moving his head off the line and he's looping it around the outside of the long guard. Maybe he can just try and just move that head a little bit as well.
And the long guard's very effective for sort of keeping especially close distance and big shots at bay, but it's also good for countering. But what's happening now is because he's getting hit, he's actually throwing himself off from being able to counter. He's actually taking a shot. and putting himself in the back foot. So if he can just do that simple adjustment, maybe use his teeps a bit more, use some range. What he has done well though is using that switch kick, so that's been good. And maybe also he just needs to try and assert some dominance, because the opening rounds, Likhaya is coming out and putting pressure on him. Stiff jab, he's got the range, stiff jab there, big 1-2 combination. That's a nice kick there from him.
Yeah, I must say, Cole, in this situation, I would probably add in a lot more teeps to my game plan. If you're taking a couple of teeps every time you come in, that's definitely going to throw you off, or throw your timing off closing the range. But this is what you mentioned earlier, the hips are wide apart, so at this point, they're just both smashing each other with knees,
You can also see how, Andre is starting to waltz up. He's been eating some big shots. But I think that's one of his most effective strikes at the moment, is that left kick. He seems to be going over the guard, over the check of Likhaya when he is putting it up, or he's just sort of taking that clean on the arm. And that's a point in this Muay Thai striking that they're doing. Oh, he pulls his head away, goes for a big elbow. Nice body shot there. Likhaya looks for a spinning elbow, but touches the glove. Actually gets a warning from the referee because of the way he ended up in the position, the dangerous position. If Andre had thrown something, maybe an elbow, and he's going to inevitably hit the back of the head there.
Yeah, and of course in Muay Thai you don't want to turn your back to your opponent. We obviously, the judges look at that and they see that the opponent has the advantage in the exchange.
I'm really enjoying the way that these guys are throwing those knees. They're really piercing, pushing forward with that knee, and then sort of almost pushing it straight, almost as if they're trying to break guard. But I think it's just a nice style, something we see someone like Wonder Girl do. She likes to push out those sort of things in one championship. Oh, nice knee there from Andre.
Those knees look like they're nice and sharp, and they actually, when they're landing, you can see it's almost on the same spot every time.
Yeah, both of them actually doing a really good job with those knees, as Andre finishes the round off getting swept there.
Good second round. It's a different type of fight that we're watching now. I like to see those clinch engagements. Often you watch Muay Thai fights and we'll come and we'll see a couple of fights before we start seeing any engagement in the clinch. And obviously it's a major part of the sport. You can win a fight by simply just clinching your opponent and beating them to pieces.
Yeah, and only 4 fights between them, but that's something that they've at least experienced the ring before. They're obviously doing a lot of sparring in the gym and working on that sort of basic technique, getting into the clinch. You can often tell when the gym spends a lot of time on the clinch, the fact that the guys are actually engaging in it instead of like trying to pull away
or hugging each other.
Yeah, and and like they're getting in there and they're striking. They obviously work this a lot. They're both throwing knees. The referee hasn't had to break too many of them up, so finding their own way out of it again as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. The referee isn't breaking it up because they are active in the clinch. They're controlling the arms. The knees are coming in. I think what I'd like to see is that, when one is throwing a knee and landing the strike, I'd like to see them sort of ensure that the opponent doesn't just immediately strike with another knee back and cancel out that point. So throw the knee, close the space. I scored the point, close it up. Let's engage again.
Yeah, and also I guess another thing which sounds really simple to say from the side there, but that because you're anticipating that knee, look for a catch,
yeah.
Throw it. You're doing that stuff when you're sparring, and like basically these guys are busy just doing clinch work there. Nice elbow there from Andre, sends the hands of his corner up into the air.
Yeah, I like that Likhaya is trying to actually break his balance, but he does get into a mode where he starts throwing a flurry of winding punches and goes down to the body. And as you saw there, Andre landed a straight elbow straight on the forehead, right? So he's just got to be careful that he doesn't get too caught up in those body shots when he's throwing it.
I was trying to focus there as well specifically on who's throwing what when in the clinch and how many strikes are actually landing. And Andre is actually fairly active. He's a little bit more active in this round than Likhaya has been. Landing those shots, but they're sort of engaging with the knee, 1-2, 1-2, 1-for-1 kind of thing. But you see that if you can get 2 strikes in for every one your opponent's doing, that's obviously doubling up your score count.
And that's what you were talking about, Cole. Like Andre lands a knee there, and then Likhaya answers immediately, right? So Andre's got to land the knee and then look for perhaps that catch that you're talking about, or as he knows that the knee's coming, try and throw him off balance, just move the shoulders and
just a little bit of anticipation, and also to make sure that when he's breaking the clinch like that, to keep his hands tight, or to use that long guard he was using earlier, not just to open his hands up and eat a shot like he just did there, that stiff jab. I like to see him go back to that switch left kick now that Likhaya's arms are, especially that right hand's dropping a little bit as he's coming in. Love to see a nice high left kick here.
Yeah, another enjoyable fight for us to watch here, Cole. I do think that the fight can be controlled with some tips. I think if one of these fighters decide to start, to keep the other away a little bit, using that tips, using some long jabs or something along those lines, that might actually help them control the momentum of the fight.
And also just making sure that, Andre at the moment definitely has the range, but he's trying to close the distance when he doesn't need to, and he's walking into some big shots. So, just learning that you can fight from the outside. You don't always need to be moving if you have the range on you. Alright, that fight also goes to the judges' scorecards. We'll see what they have to say.
Close fight there. I didn't even realize that we were at the end of the third round, and I quite enjoyed that. Let's see what the announcement is from Cole.
A great job there for the first seniors of our card this evening. Another one that went the distance. We have a winner via unanimous decision from the blue corner,